daily activities. This means that they're able to respond, that might look different depending on the level of communication, right? They could be responding using their ABC, icons, verbally. They're following simple directions, 1 step, 2 step, depending on their ability. They are able to kind of follow their daily routine, right? If we see, I'm assuming if I say this, everyone in this room is gonna raise their hand. But if there's a change in your child's routine, does that totally trigger everything? Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? So that's also something that we need to think about, right? Changes to routine. And I think that some of those can be controlled, some of those can't, right? I don't like changes to my routine either. Like I said, if my AC breaks, don't come over to my house, okay? I'm gonna be a not so nice person. But it also is important for you guys to think about what is your baseline. Because when we're talking about the behavior cycle, you can go through all of these behaviors as this or part of the behavior cycle as well too. So it's really important to know where are you at baseline so that we can get you back there as well so that you're able to successfully help your child when they are in an escalation, okay? So, the child is regulated, engaged, and able to respond in activities. Like I said, that's responding to directions, communicating their wants and needs, following that routine. They're able to problem solve. And that doesn't mean that they're going into like huge, what's the biggest thing that they need to solve at that moment? It's a social conflict. We might know that that might not be but it's based off of their level, right? Are they able to accept that change in their routine if they're at baseline? Are they able to, my shoe fell off, what do I need to do? I need to problem solve, I need to put my shoe back on so that my feet don't get hot on the pavement, right? So thinking through some of those easy problems, and they are able to tolerate those minor frustrations, okay? So what I mean by that is, you might tell them no, and at baseline they can accept hearing no. But if they're already slightly triggered or in that early escalation, hearing that no is probably not going to be something that they're going to be able to do. Does that make sense? So it helps if we understand what baseline looks like. So what should we do in these moments? This is the prime opportunity to teach skills and to help them understand and create places where the escalation won't happen. So if we find out, like I said, that it's that motivation deficit, they have the skill already, but they need something to motivate them. All of us probably either go to work to get a paycheck or we make sure that we have enough money to pay, like that is our motivation, right? We have to find what's gonna motivate the kiddos. That could look differently based on what they need in that moment, okay? But I think the biggest piece here is that they, most of the time, don't have what we would call coping skills at this time. They don't have their ability to maybe tolerate some of those more difficult things. So we need to start teaching those skills. I think a lot of times what I've seen, especially when it comes to like peer-to-peer interaction, is that kids don't know how to socialize in those moments. Makes sense, right? Being on the spectrum or having an intellectual disability, it's gonna be more difficult for you to socialize. We need to teach those skills. And people look at me like, ooh, Amber, how are we gonna teach them to interact? That's what we need to work on. We need to figure out where is their foundational layer, what do they have? Can they say hi? Can they ask to play? Those types of things, and then move towards, okay, now let's build on that. Because I think a lot of what's happening is we're not explicitly teaching skills where there are deficits, and that's leading to some of those behavior challenges, okay? And I think a lot of this, I'm not gonna put all of this on you guys, but I want you guys to recognize, because this might be that you wanna collaborate with your ABA on, hey, I'm seeing that this is constantly happening if you have ABA. If you have a speech either in the school or outside of school, what communication what styles or techniques can I use at home in these moments that I can start teaching some of those things? I know a lot of times, you know, the districts will give you guys an AAC and be like, okay, here, use it. And they're like, how do I use this? I don't know what it looks like. It's overwhelming if you just look at it. So getting that explicit teaching is gonna help you, right? With understanding not only what your child needs, but what you need in that moment. So we wanna make sure, like I said, that we're able to, I think one of the biggest pieces that I found more recently that I just totally missed right now is the allowing for autonomy. Like honoring their no. If they say no to something, that's fine. You can say no right now, but we're gonna attempt it later. And we're gonna work through it, and we might have to shape it, so it might have to be smaller increments, but we're gonna honor them saying no, right? Because if you say no as an adult, do you always or what's the word I'm thinking of? Are you always able to have people just accept your no? You can't go to work and say, no, I'm not gonna do that project, right? It's still something you have to follow through on, but you still get to take the time to figure out how that works. We wanna honor their autonomy and their voice, right? I think that's one of the biggest pieces. So if we can teach them that you ask them to put their shoes on and they don't wanna do it, okay, what can we do? Can they wear slides instead? Could they maybe it's the actual tying of their shoes that they don't like. Could we wear slip-ons, right? So can we come up with different ways to help them with that autonomy of them not wanting that? Okay, so we're gonna get back to our table groups, and what I want you guys to do is, what does it look like when your child is at baseline? What does their face look like? What does their body language look like? How are they communicating to you? What does it look like? Because I want us to really try to think about, what does baseline look like for our child, right? So if you guys can discuss for about 3 to 5 minutes with your table groups about what that looks like, and then we'll come back together as a group.
Right.